Hey, Ralph. Well, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. I really appreciate it. I know you're really busy. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, I think most of the people in the audience don't know who you are. Can you share a little bit about yourself? Like, what exactly do you do? And how did you get from where you were before to where you are today?
Great. I'll try to give a Reader's Digest version rather than the Encyclopedia Britannica. How's that? Uh, so my name is
That'd be great.
Ralphy Love. I acquired that, and I thought that if I needed a name that people could remember after my 5 minutes were up at an open mic and say, "I'm Ralphie Love, and I love you." So that's how I got the name. How I got to be in the private wellness consultant or facilitator that I am today is that I came to a conclusion one day that the reason I was doing comedy was because I enjoyed making people feel better, not because necessarily I wanted to be in that business. I had been, I had met a woman who was a practitioner of B.E.S.T, Bio-Energetic Synchronization Technique, as created and taught by the Morter health system. And I met her through a private club to which I belong, called the Global Information Network. And our founder, Kevin Trudeau, has a list of things that he recommends for bettering your life. And one of them was get a treatment from a Morter B.E.S.T practitioner. And for some reason, when I heard that suggestion, it really resonated with me above all the other things that he recommended. So when I met her, I said, yes, I want to start getting treatments with you. I was going 3 times a week to get a B.E.S.T treatment with her. And all the while thinking my chief aim in life, my number one goal was to make it on the comedy stage. And then when I had that cognition that no, what you really like is making people feel better, making people feel good. And how are you going to do that? And I just went in one day and I said, I don't want to do comedy. I want to do what you do. She goes, really? I said, yeah, I do. So when the next training was available in Atlanta, there were 4 of us piled into my SUV, and there we were for the very first training. And the rest is history. They have 3 levels of training. They call certified, diplomate, and elite master. And I made the commitment right there that I would go all the way through to the end. And I spent 3 years to get all the way through to what they call elite master. I didn't make it up. I don't go around saying I'm an elite master of anything. I like to say I'm a wellness consultant or a facilitator, because you're going to show up and I'm going to create the environment and circumstances where you will have physical, mental, emotional healing or improve something in your life as a result of you're showing up and doing the work.
See, for people in the audience that don't know what B.E.S.T is, how does like B.E.S.T make people feel better?
Okay. So how does B.E.S.T make people feel better? Well, B.E.S.T is a non-forceful healing modality that treats the cause rather than the symptoms. So the question of, is it good for fill in the blank? The answer is yes. The first thing that we're taught when we go into the first moment of training is everything is energy and thoughts are things. Everything is energy and thoughts are things. Everything is energy, and the body heals itself when the interference has been removed. So my job and I love to call myself facilitator. I'll say it again and again rather than healer, because I'm not doing the healing. I'm facilitating the removal of that which is impeding the natural healing. That your body is designed, and everybody, Dr. M.T. Mortar Jr., who has passed away, but he created this technique. He would come into a room and say, what is your body designed to do? And people would come up with all kinds of lofty ideals. It's designed to evolve. It's designed to be enlightened. It's designed to heal. He'd say, no, it's designed to survive. So these adaptations, if you will, that we take on to the body, to the mind, to the emotional body, as a result of our lived experiences, are really there to help us survive. They're there to help us survive. The body doesn't remember, or the unconscious brain doesn't know, perhaps, that you don't need it anymore. So my job is to help you go to the emotion that needs to be released. And once that is released, then the body has the opportunity to heal itself. Now, there are 6 essentials for health. So liberating the emotion would be a wonderful thing. However, understand that if you don't sleep, if you're if you're smoking things, if you're drinking excessively, if you don't drink water, maybe all of your, I've known friends whose entire liquid intake was based on coffee and soda, right? For example. And then I said, you really need to drink some water. What if I put little Crystal Light in it? Because for some people, I don't know why, but they don't like the taste of water. I'm sure that's a conditioned response, but you need to eat healthy foods. You need to drink water. You need to breathe clean air and breathe well. So I use the breath work with that. You need to you need to eliminate stinking thinking. Right now, a lot of that, we're going to go into that, because there's a lot of that is not happening consciously, right? And you need to move. You need to move your body. You need to exercise, whatever that means for you. For example, I'm at a point in my life where, as much as I still love lifting weights and all of that, I feel better when I exercise in the water. So I go in the pool and I do resistance work in the pool, and I don't have aches and pains, and I still get the benefit. Depending on where you're at in your life, where what you're comfortable with. We'll talk about that a little bit too, if time allows. The idea of setting yourself up, in fact, I'll talk about it now. The idea of setting yourself up to win, right? So don't do what an acquaintance of mine did to a mutual friend. She took this woman who had never exercised, who was morbidly obese, to a hot yoga class. The poor woman, I mean, who does that? Right? That's a leap, right? So set yourself up to win, right? If you can do 5 push-ups a day, try to do 6 tomorrow. Little things like that. If you could walk a block, try to walk a block and a half. Try to do 2 block. I don't know. Could you do 5 minutes? Try to do 6. All right. So just set yourself up to win, because then the motivation is there. Once you see that success, then the motivation is there. But we have to have exercise of some kind. Walking is the most recommended by best practitioners, because most people can do it. If with exceptions, of course. You do what you can. If you cannot walk, then try to move your limbs, contralaterally move your, there's there are exercises that can be done in a chair. There for elderly people. There are all kinds of, there's a workaround. We work around it, but we want to move the body. We want to breathe clean air. We want to breathe well. And that's a topic unto itself. No smoke. No smoke of any. Your body is not designed to inhale smoke. Um, you need to drink water. You need to eat healthy foods, and you need to clear what's going on up here. And that's what I work with the most, right? So why is it important to get a best treatment or something comparable with someone? Because I don't have a monopoly on facilitating health and well-being, but why is it important to find a way to, as Dr. Stumoder would say, get under that trap door, right? So let's say that my goal in life, and I'm going to speak in very material terms because material things can be measured and they're quantitative. Maybe your goal in life is to, you know, ascend, transcend, to have no desires. And I want that too, but it's not quantifiable for, um, for a tutorial sake. So let's say my goal in life was to have $1 million in the bank. And I feel really good about that goal. I can tell you, I have no resistance to that idea. I even have, because in the law of attraction world, we tell you, don't worry about the how, just worry about the why. The how will come to you. However, do not fool yourself. You need a how. There are no Amazon drones dropping gold bars in front of people's houses yet that I know of. So you will need a how. You don't need to know it right away, because yes, the how will present itself, but you will need a how. You will need a vehicle in order to earn that $1 million. Let's say you're working really hard. That's your vehicle for that. Let's say you're an entrepreneur and you're working really hard on your business plan. You've got everything worked out to get that $1 million. And let's say, as an example, that when you were a child and you were driving around with your car, with your parents in their car, when you passed an expensive car, your dad said, "Hmm, look at that flashy car. It's probably a drug dealer," right? And if you drove through a fancy neighborhood on the way to the beach, your mom would say something like, "Oh, look at that beautiful house. I'll never have a house like that. Ugh, poor people don't have houses like that," or anything, any kind of um, negative input that was put in. And it doesn't have to, you didn't even have to hear it too many times. It could have been 1, 2, or 3 times, but your parents put it in there, right? Input there. We got input from our parents, the rest of the family, from our school teachers, from our religious institutions, and from the media, government. Could be the same thing. I'm not sure, but there's all kinds of the education system, all of the systems put beliefs in us so that are under the trap door. In other words, you're looking at the $1 million, you're looking at the mansion, you're looking at the gorgeous car, and you're thinking, those are my goals. I know I deserve those things. There's nothing wrong with having those things. But under the trap door is mom saying, I'll never have that. And there's dad saying, do you want to drive a car like that and have everyone think you're a drug dealer? You don't remember that mom said that. You don't remember that dad said that. You don't know that you believe that. So that's where someone like me comes in, because I can help you release those beliefs that are under the trap door. That's what I do.
Oh, it's fantastic. It sounds really interesting. But when it comes to law of attraction, there's other things that people also do that are really popular, such as affirmations, vision boards. So if somebody's doing affirmations and vision boards, why do they even have to consider, having like a best session? Like, isn't affirmations enough or vision boards enough?
Yes, if they're working. If you've been doing an affirmation for 6 months or a year and you have not created that which you are affirming yourself to create, something is there is a resistance. There is a resistance. So first I would say, start with something that is believable to you, that you believe can come true in 6 months or less. You can have a much bigger dream than that. Dream big, start small. Try to create something that is believable to you. Be number one. Number two, let's go back to the ride in the car with mom and dad, right? I can tell you that right now, I before coming here, I was test driving a Genesis GV70 because that's white. That's the next car that I might be interested in owning. If my parents were alive today, they would say, are you crazy? Why are you even test driving that car? You can't afford it. Oh, I could just, they might not even be words involved. They might just be sounds. You know, like, and disapproval, right? It's like, you know, for rich people. Okay. If you have a belief that is a limiting belief, that belief is running interference with the energy of your creation, right? So here's a good, I have this, I want to touch the water with my finger, but I can't. I mean, I can go this way, right? But you don't even know that you can go this way, because all you have is this way. So that's what I would say. Start with something small. Affirmations about yourself, where I am loving, I am loved, I love my life. Those are the kinds of general well-being and feeling good about yourself and feeling good about life that um you can sort of practice yourself into reality with those things, right? So, for example, many years ago, I started saying, I always have a parking space that's always in the perfect place. That became true for me, right? It's my truth. Another saying that I got from Kevin Trudeau was, everything always works out for me. Everything is always working out for me. It's all working out. Always works out. Everything is always working out for me. And I can go on. You can go on with, and if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks, it's called the Rampage You can do a rampage of appreciation, a rampage of positivity, where you just go on and on, building and building and building and building on these positive statements about yourself and your life. That is a way to practice yourself into a better feeling thought, which I'll talk about more in depth. And that you can probably do without having to be clear. When you're trying to manifest a specific thing and it's not appearing in your life, or if you notice a pattern, right? If you come to me and you say, I can never find a good job, and when I do, I get fired. It's a pattern. There's something as the creator, right? Because I'm going to treat you as the creator of your life. Oh, I'm going to be, because you are. Now, if that's a big topic, but I'm going to treat you that way. You are the creator. So as the creator of your life, that is a pattern that you are following, and that pattern can be cleared with B.E.S.T, with other things. And patterns can be cleared. So, you need to know that the expensive watch on your vision board, that the Genesis or Porsche or Mercedes or BMW or Maserati or Lamborghini on your vision board, that the mansion on your vision board, you need to know whether there is counter intention running underneath the surface of your consciousness, because you will never allow yourself to create something that's bad for you, because we were circling back, right? We were created to survive. We were not created to go around with a magic wand manifesting everything we want. I want that. I want that. I want that. I want that. We were created for that, because as physical beings, we were created to survive. So now you have this consciousness inside this physical unit that needs to survive. And and the consciousness underneath the trapdoor, unconscious self, is going to say, no, you cannot have that Mercedes because you cannot be a drug dealer. No, you cannot have that mansion because mom said poor people don't have houses like that. No, no, no. So you're really protecting yourself. You're having yourself, you just don't know. You're protecting yourself. You just don't know that you're protecting yourself. Right. My assistant is getting restless. Daniel knows who that is. So, you're protecting yourself from those things that your unconscious brain believes will harm you, will be bad for you. And we have fancy names for that. It's called a SEMO, which means a subconscious emotional memory override. That's what we call it in our world. People usually say, the lay person usually says, I have a block. I have a block. I have a blockage. Right? So you have a SEMO, you have a counter intention. And what it really is energetically is a gap. There's a place where the energy is not going through. So that's why if you want the vision boards and the dream books and the affirmations to work, especially where you're looking for something outside yourself, something that exists out in the world, cars, jewelry, mansions, jobs, things like that, you need to be clear of any counter intention, or it's not going to work. If you want to do affirmations about, I am a loving person, I love myself, I love the world. If you repeat those things long enough, you'll probably believe it. And if you let yourself feel it, unless there's a very strong counter intention to those as well. And that all of that can be clear. But the good news is all of it can be clear.
So in your experiences, can you maybe share some maybe profound shifts that you've seen some of your clients like achieve with best and the work that you do?
Ab- Absolutely. Very early on, and I'm talking many, perhaps a decade ago, I had an early experience with someone who was in extreme pain getting in and just to get in and out of his car, and came for a session, and that after that one session, now this doesn't always happen, right? So there's no guarantee that one session will be miraculous like this. But after that one session, he was doing plies like a ballerina, going, look, oh, look. Because the fact that he could bend his knees suddenly was so surprising to him. It was like he couldn't believe it. So that would be a physical manifestation of being cleared. Um, I enjoy working with veterans, um, and had the privilege of working for a long time with a veteran who was coming regularly to see me and was always seeing a little improvement, a little improvement, a little improvement. He couldn't sleep at night because of his experiences in the war. And he was just about to give up. He confessed that the, the day of his big breakthrough, he confessed to me that, I was just about to stop coming. And that day, something happened where he allowed himself to feel and what he needed to feel. And please understand, this is not a requirement. There's no, everyone's path is going to be different with this work. So don't think that, oh, to be successful in this work, I'm going to have to go on the table and cry. We're not looking for that. But, this very strong, muscular veteran was in tears on my table. And after that, he started sleeping. He was, so grateful. He was so grateful. And, there are things that I recommend to do on your own, certain exercises that I recommend to do on your own between sessions. And I can tell you that this is the kind of work where you have to show up for yourself, right? So if you're, I'm probably not, I'm probably preaching to the choir here, because if you're tuning into this podcast, you're probably already understand what I'm talking about. But, just in case, there's the difference between allopathic treatment and naturopathic treatment, or energy work, that I do. That this is not a magic pill. So it's not, I give you something, you take it, and you go away, right? Now, it is true that some people come for a very specific symptom, such as TMJ, and maybe after, when I do TMJ, I like to spend a whole session on that. So that's probably going to take 2 sessions, an initial session, and then a TMJ session. But this person had such a breakthrough in the TMJ session that never needed to come back. Right. Then you have other people that are very attuned to themselves energetically, and they can just say, I'm off. Something's off. Let me call Ralphy because I'm off. Right. There's different ways. There are different ways to work with it. You can, come once and be satisfied and go home a happy customer, or you can come regularly or semi-regularly. One of the things that I can do on the table is ask when you need to come back. And, people who are working on themselves, come a few times and then they're working on themselves outside of my treatment. They, usually it's a month. You don't need to be coming every week. It could be a whole month before you need to come back. And one of the things that I like to see is people that are coming in and they've been working on themselves, and they're clear enough that maybe I just have to clear one or two things. And then I can just say, well, what do you want? What are your goals? Let's start clearing your goals, right? Because if I have to clear all these things, I use a flow chart, by the way. So, show and tell. I use a flow chart. So, um, I'm going to go through the whole flow chart before I ask you, what do you want to, before I offer you to work on goals? Because one of the things that happens in this work is we believe that the system puts forth in priority what is most needed to be clear. And it could be something from the past. It could be a recurring thought. I may say to you, what are you thinking about all the time? You don't have to tell me. Here's another beautiful thing about this work. Don't have to tell me anything. You don't have to divulge your secrets. So let's say you're smack in the middle of a horrible divorce and you really don't want to talk about it. Or let's say uh, something very traumatic happened in your childhood and you really don't want to talk about it. If that comes up in treatment and as a recurring thought, I will say, what do you think? I'll say, what are you thinking about most of the time? And I'll have you think about it. And then I can muscle test to see if you're having a reaction to it. So, because that's how we work. Is there a physiological reaction to a thought? Right. And if there is, then I know I'm on the right track. That's what I need to clear. How do I know the difference between when you're having a physiological reaction to a thought and when you're not? Because I've already tested you on a neutral thought. So I had you think, for example, my name is Daniel. Water is wet. The sky is blue. I had a young lady in a workshop say to me, the sky is pink, as if I was supposed to be not believe that as an untrue thought. And I said, wait a minute. I live in Miami Beach. The sky is pink. So that's not going to. And later I emailed her a picture of one of my pink trees and I didn't get a response. So she probably thinks I'm just a crazy pink person who lives in a pink sky with pink trees, but true. I've already tested you on a neutral thought, so I know what that looks like as opposed to when you're having a reactive thought. So if these are your feet and I'll say water is wet and I can move your feet in and out like that. And then I say, think of the thought that you're thinking about most of the time. That's it. You reacted to a thought. It's not neutral for you. So we clear that. And when we're done clearing, and that's a whole process that, painless for the most part. And, once we're finished with the clearing, I will have you think that thought again, and you'll be like this. If you'll be like this, just like water is wet, sky is pink, sky is blue. My name is Daniel, right? So that's a very simple, a simple way of how it works.
So many
Simple
people feel
explanation of
stuck in different areas of their life, like relationships, money, purpose, health. They feel stuck. Why does the
yeah.
stuck happen, even though they kind of know what they should be doing?
Well, to do and not to know and not to do is not to know. So you know, we all fall into little, we all fall into, can fall into little traps. Had to start a cleanse on Monday because I've allowed myself to, enjoy all manner of foods in an indulgent manner, being, being very kind to myself. I have allowed myself for a long period of time, um, to indulge in all manner of foods, and I don't weigh myself, and I managed to visit someone who has a scale, and out of curiosity, I got on the scale and went, oh no. So we're cleansing now, right? So um, we do have control, but we fall into little traps. We have We have comfort zone addictions, right? Addictions, we think of alcohol, cigarettes, drugs. Like some people have shopping, gambling, sex, whatever. But now there's screen addiction, right? Because there's the dopamine that comes from getting likes. Um, some of us enjoy being contrary. We're going on online for people to, looking for people we disagree with so we can say something and piss them. It's like that's enjoyable. And then there's my drug of choice, the big screen is the big screen. Not the movies, but the big screen in in my TV room. It has its own room, right? It has its own room. There's a room, and I'm and it, I know how it happened. Um, and in fact, next time I see a practitioner, I'm going to ask to be cleared on it. Called putting my money where my mouth is. But I was a child, a little child during the '60s, and my mom, stay-at-home mom, would put me in front of the TV and go in the kitchen and wash dishes, and I'd be in front of the TV, right? So, um, I'm not blaming my mom. I mean, it was the '60s. You did that, I guess. I don't know. TV dinners were a thing in the '60s. And so the idea that you would eat in front of the TV was also something that I acquired. And then I know this. It doesn't matter that I know it because knowing things doesn't clear you of them. Right. And I think that's where um if you want to go to talk therapy because you need someone to listen to you, please do it. I mean, if you can afford to pay someone to listen to you, that's wonderful. And I've been to therapy and it was very helpful to me. However, knowing something doesn't take away the habit, right? And doesn't take the comfort that's found in the habit. So I know why I'm in love with the TV, but it doesn't take it away. I know that because I grew up as an only child and because I didn't have brothers and sisters around me, that I would surround myself with the kids on the Brady Bunch and the Partridge Family and my three sons and all in the family. No, not on the Family Affair. Though these were, so I would plug myself into these artificial families. I know that. That doesn't stop me from wanting to sit in front of the TV. You see what I mean? So I need to now and clear myself or ask someone to clear me of that need to do that. Knowing doesn't do it.
So what do you recommend to somebody who's may come to you and says, Ralph, I've tried everything and nothing has worked?
Nothing has worked before.
Yeah.
Um, well, I'd say welcome to the list. Well, I'd say welcome, and I would wish them well, and I would treat them like the way that I treat everyone else. You know, um, I use a lot of different sort of ancillary modalities, and everything is not for everyone, right? So, for example, I like to read. So I have read this book many times, Ask and It Is Given. Highly recommend it. But I will say to someone, have you read Ask and It Is Given? It's wonderful. And by the way, this has in it the emotional guidance scale on page 114, where you can identify how you feel and try to reach for the better feeling thought, because it doesn't help to, when you're depressed, to try to be joyful. And it doesn't work. Joyful is too far away. It's like I'm in Fort Lauderdale and I'm going to snap my fingers and be in Atlanta. It doesn't work. You got to go through. You got to go up the turnpike, right? So learn to reach for a better feeling thought. Is identify how you feel and reach for a better feeling thought. If you don't, if if you really want to advance on your own between treatments with me, then I'm going to recommend this book. And I believe this is available on Audible, because some people will tell, there are many people in today's world who simply do not like to read, or have not acquired or reacquired the habit of reading, or for whatever reason, because of for whatever reason, don't have the uh, focus or attention span to stick with the book. I'll confess that I was a much more avid reader before I needed glasses to read. That now I get tired of reading. Um, my eyes get tired. The words turn to ants, and so I'm not as avid a reader as I used to be. But this, for those of you who read, I highly recommend this book, and this works hand in hand with B.E.S.T. Dr. Sue Morter is actually Dr. Morter's daughter. She is the B.E.S.T practitioner in her own right, and she has taken the work into the realm of the chakras, the yoga, the spiritual system. So if you're inclined in that direction at all, that's the way to go. And she has a lot of content available for free, in addition, that comes on YouTube. And other things that you can obviously pay for if you wish. She teaches something called body awake yoga. She does retreats. There's a lot of opportunities with Dr. Sue. Now, you don't want anything to do with books, but you really want a basic, simultaneously basic and profound, non-mystical, no nonsense introduction to the law of attraction. Then I recommend this. This is Your Wish is Your Command. I recommend this to everyone who comes to me. This is how I found the Mortars, because the Mortar health system, the best practice, is actually recommended as one of the positive practices within the CV system. I understand that most of you do not have CD players anymore. I don't know if this works. So but you can purchase these for $500. However, I have a code where you can purchase the access to it with your computer or your phone. You can access it without CDs, the digital way, for free. And I don't know if you can, I don't know if this works, if you can scan that from the screen, but if you can, that would take you.
Is there a
Hold it up
link that
there.
we can provide to people in the YouTube description, so people can click on the link to click on that QR code?
Yeah, I don't have that. I don't have that, right. I don't have a way of accessing that right now. I can, however, um, for people who would be interested, I am Ralphy Love on Facebook, and my alternate page, which is Roig Wellness Group, ROIG Wellness. Roig Wellness is my other page. And if you can contact me through Ralphie Love or through Roy Wellness and tell me what it is you're interested in. And um, I will work with you to get you, um, pointed in the right direction, whether you are interested in getting a link for your wishes, your commands, so you can listen absolutely free. Um, and this you can get on Amazon, and this you can get on Amazon. And I'm not affiliated with these books, so I'm not selling them in any way. Um, and finally, there's one more system that I work with, which I love very much. And it's called the I Ching systems, and they create these wonderful instruments. They're based on the Chinese I Ching. And sometimes you cannot see maybe the magnificence of this item, but it's substantial. It looks like a small accordion, very heavy, has very powerful magnets inside. And this was created by one of my teachers and her cohorts, Mary Miller, and the people from I Ching Systems. And I believe you can reach them through ichingsystems.info. And they were people as far back in the 60s who really wanted to help people. And they investigated every possible way that they could get into the system and really fix the the electrical system of human beings. And so they came up with they're always coming up with these different instruments that you can purchase and work on yourself. I can also uh, hold an instrument on your behalf. If you would like me to, I can hold an instrument for you. And if you come to see me in person, you can hold the instrument, let you hold the instrument yourself. My experience with using the this particular instrument before a B.E.S.T treatment is that it 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 clears the way. It gets you energetically balanced. That's the purpose. It's a balancing instrument, is just to get you energetically balanced. And and therefore, when I go to do the treatment with B.E.S.T, there's less to get through, right? There's less for me to get through, so we can get more to what you really want, to why you're really here.
Now, can you recommend to our audience like a daily practice or ritual that can
That's
help
gonna be
people raise the vibration?
well, yeah. I'll say a couple of things about that. And one is that I would. Here you go. I would. For those of you wondering what I'm doing, I have a four-legged beast here that needs to be fed every once in a while to keep her quiet. I'm just giving her a tiny piece of banana, and hopefully she'll let us continue. Yes, yes, good. Thank you. The first thing I want to say about that is the the use of the word raise. I would like to make an invitation to um, use a different word, which would be to integration. So rather than the idea that rather than sort of rising up, that we're bringing heaven down. So one thing I was taught a long time ago before, oh, when I was young and weighed half as much, I I was taught to ground myself by visualizing roots to the center of the earth, to connect to the brightest light of the universe, to surround myself with light, and to be full of light. And then just allow, and that's something you can do if you practice it quite vividly, to where you really see the roots and you feel it, where you really see the light and you feel it coming in, where you really fill yourself with light. and just radiate light until that bubble is just, you know, Glinda the Good Witch delicious, then you're just, um, if you will take some time to visualize that deeply and vividly several times, eventually you might get to you can get to the point where you're going into any situation, you're going boom, 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 boom. And you can visualize that state of being very quickly and just be there. Right. And so you can, when you do this, when you practice this, you can find that, um, the scary looking person on the sidewalk walks by you and doesn't see you. You'll find certain, um, you're energetically, self-contained in a way. The it provides an energetic sense of safety. But why I say integrate instead of raise, because, and I just heard a beautiful guru explain this the other day. And it and I loved it because I agree completely, and I've been feeling this, but she articulated it in such a way that, that I'm going to try to, humbly emulate. When anything that you raise, right, what goes up must come down. So if you're constantly raising vibration, raising vibration, then you're crashing. You're crashing. Has anybody ever been to some awesome seminar where your vibrations were through the roof, and then you were still nice and high on Monday, but then you crashed on Tuesday and you're like, oh, what? Right? Or it could just be after a vacation, or um after some wonderful thing that you're like, yeah. And then, you can crash after. So we don't want to be raising. So the word I'm going to use, invite you to think of, is to integrate, So if that energy from the earth is coming up to you, and the energy from the heavens is coming into you, and in your heart, you can expand that out to the universe, to yourself, to all of yourselves, to your loved ones, to your four-legged friends, and to your birds and your fish and your reptiles, and to the walls of your home, and to the beautiful objects that you selected to live with, and just, um integrate, don't raise, integrate. That's my that's my humble opinion, and try it. I'd be try it and see how that works if you think about integrating instead of raising.
It's definitely a new perspective I haven't heard before. So thank you for sharing that. A couple more questions left before we close for the podcast interview. If you can give advice to somebody about, if someone can do only one thing to start changing their life for the better, what would that one thing be?
Learn to say no. Learn to say no to your negative thoughts. Just, especially when you have a negative thought about yourself, monitor yourself. And if you spill water, or burn the toast, or whatever it is that you do, the little things that we do throughout the day where maybe happen because we forgot to be mindful. Don't say, you're such an idiot, to yourself. Don't say, oh God, of course it happened to me, my luck. No, watch for now, right? If no one's ever invited you to do this before, just monitor yourself, and see whether or not you're doing that. And then when you realize you're saying negative things to yourself, you can gently talk yourself into a different narrative. So change, you're such an idiot, to Ralphie, you weren't very mindful just then, and you let the toast burn. Um, perhaps perhaps next time, take a better look at the dial on the toaster, okay? And then look for something to be grateful for. Maybe it's the fact that you live in a reality where there's more bread, that it's not your last piece of bread. There are people in the world who may not have another piece of bread, but if you do, that's something to be grateful for. So just be grateful that there is, in fact, more bread. Or maybe, maybe you had promised yourself you were not going to eat bread today and you forgot. And then you burnt it and you said, oh, I wasn't supposed to eat that anyway. Thank you. Thank you, unconscious mind. Thank you, universe. Thank you, higher power. Thank you, my angels. I don't now I remember I don't have to eat bread today. So it's be mindful of how you're speaking to yourself about yourself. Be willing to change the narrative and say good things to yourself about yourself and find the gratitude in the situation. Right? So things happen that weren't supposed to you didn't think were supposed to happen that way, but something good's going to come of it. You don't know it now. Pop the champagne anyway. Or if you prefer the sparkling apple juice, but pop it, celebrate, whatever you celebrate with, just do it virtually. Go, I'm popping the champagne because I don't know yet how well this is going to turn out, but everything always works out for me. So this is to be for my good. And then when you pass a mirror, I want you to look at him or her or them and say, hey, you are beautiful, just like me. It's silly. It's silly. It's very silly, but you're going to laugh and then watch yourself laughing because you'll be even more beautiful when you're laughing. You go, wow.
Is there any last words you'd like to share with our audience before we depart? And it'll be kind of like, I think, kind of cool since that you have this comedian past. If you had any like jokes or something that can liven people's spirits.
Okay. I didn't quite catch all of that question. Would you mind repeating that? Were there two
Yeah,
different questions there or just one?
just want to say, is there any final remarks you'd like to share with the audience before we stop the
Final thought?
podcast? Yeah, and if you have anything that's kind of in the realm of comedy signs that you started your career with, I think that would be really awesome to end the podcast with.
Well, all I can say is that I had to get out of comedy because I'm not funny.
I beg to defer. From this conversation, I think you're very.
My best line is that I will say something that was given to me, that how it was given with, that's a topic for a whole other podcast. But this exercise where you're out and about in the world and you're seeing people, don't say it to their face because they'll call 911. But you're saying as you're looking at other people, men, women, everybody, any color, any age, as you're looking at every human being, think to yourself in your mind, you are God. You are God. You are God. Life changing. It's a life changing practice.
Well, Ralph, thank you so much for again for coming on the podcast and sharing all your wisdom and experiences and some book recommendations. So just to be clear, so the audience understands that if somebody had a question about something you said, they're interested in working with you, is the best way to reach you through Facebook?
Absolutely. I'm Ralphie Love on Facebook, and I have a page called ROIG, ROIG Wellness Group. Just go ahead and DM me, and I will get and with the best way to get back to you, whether you want me to email you or communicate through Messenger, or you want me to call you. Um, and I'm able to work with people over the phone if they're not able to come in person. I love to meet people in person, love to have them here with me, but we do what we can. We do everything we can.
Well, Ralph, thank you so much for everything, and I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. It's been a true pleasure.